Hi guys, it's Naomi here. Are you ready to begin your renovation journey but you're worried about going over budget? Or are you dreaming about a certain look for your property but you're just not sure how much it's actually going to cost you? Do you keep tossing and turning, worrying about whether you've underestimated the cost of your entire renovation project? Almost every single renovation project ever undertaken, if not every single one in the country, has had a budget. Everybody has a limit on how much they're willing to spend on their home. And this rings even more true when it comes to renovating for wealth, because the budget for renovating for wealth projects are generally a lot tighter than a normal renovating for self-enjoyment project. Why, people ask? Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting bang for buck and profit. So that is why it is so important to establish a good budget and stick to it before you even pick up tools on your project. If you can get a good budget together early on, you don't have to worry about running out of money or leaving the best ideas in the dust. So have your budget mapped out before you even pick up your tools. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have every single tiny thing thought of and mapped out, because sometimes a spanner might pop up and it might get into the works and it might be completely beyond your control. But if you've got a good solid budget in place, it'll help you reduce the impact of this spanner that gets in the works and the impact that it'll have on your budget and your overall profit. So what you want to do is have a well-researched budget locked in place before you get started, before you get your hands dirty in the actual renovating side of things, and make sure you stick to that budget. So no matter how much of a whiz you are at working out your renovation budget, no matter how much of a whiz you are at working out your renovation budget, none of that matters if you bail at the first sign of a new kitchen idea or a cool lighting feature. New things come up all the time in this industry, and it is so tempting to shift course halfway through a renovation project to accommodate them. So make sure that you don't stray from your budget. You need to have a budget spreadsheet with you. So one of the things that I use and I teach my students to use is a software package. It's very extensive. For one that you can use, it breaks down absolutely everything in a really easy to follow way. When you're picking out your new tiles or the colour of your kitchen benchtop, you can add these costs into the spreadsheet and the software as well. This way you can keep an eye on the overall budget and make sure you don't blow it at any point. But how do you work it out in the first place? How do you even get to a figure? So there are 4 main ways that you can work out the costs of different areas of your renovation. So these 4 ways can be combined with one another to give you a really solid idea of the real costs of the renovation. Now, the first way to do this is to actually get your trades or your team to quote, okay? So that's the first one that you can do. Now, if you're just starting out, this is ideal. And it's also really important, if you are just starting out, to get at least 3 quotes from different trades for the same job. This way, you'll be able to compare them and see which one suits your budget, as long as you're comparing apples for apples. So don't fall into the trap of just going for the cheapest quote. They could be the cheapest for a reason, and that might be the reason that they ended up being able to see you that exact afternoon that you called them, okay? So the best place to start when you're looking for a perfect tradie is to actually ask family and friends, or even work colleagues. Many trades that survive and thrive do that through word of mouth recommendations. And let's be honest, you can never be too sure if that an online review or a testimonial that isn't a video or doesn't have data attached is even from a real person. But people you know will always put forward trades they've had a good experience with. So using a tradie recommended by a friend or a family is also a huge benefit. So if you're sniffling around getting multiple quotes, that is fantastic. But one of the things you've got to be really careful of is if you are getting multiple quotes and your trades know that you're getting multiple quotes, don't be surprised if one of them one day doesn't show up for a quote, because more than likely they're out there actually doing paid work. So fixed price quotes are amazing so that you don't get a nasty surprise down the track when the final bill comes in and it's a lot more than the estimate was. Which actually leads me to my second point, an estimate. The second way you can price up a renovation is actually by an estimate from a trade that you know and have worked with before. Okay, so I mentioned above, it's usually best to get a quote, right? Rather than an estimate. And this is especially important if you've never ever worked with a trade before. But you might have already worked with this painter before. You may already know their work. They may be a regular that you call upon for touch-ups. You call upon each and every job that you've done, or your friends and family call upon. So in this case, if you're on good terms with them, you know them well, and you know they've been reasonably priced in the past, then it is an absolute great opportunity to get an estimate from them. And that way, what you're avoiding is the actual trades having to incorporate the what if factor into their quote. So a quote is fixed, an estimate is something based on what they can see they're estimating the job would be. So the other great reason you might have to work with an estimate rather than a quote is when you're dealing with an upgrade that you haven't yet set in stone. So sometimes you're not quite sure exactly the way it's going to pan out until you do your demolition. So working on an estimate basis gives both yourself and the tradesperson that little bit of wiggle room in what you're going to undertake together. But again, try and leave the estimating to the trades that you already know and that you have a really good connection with. That way, you'll be in less chance of having your estimate changing too much. Now, the third way you can cost things up is to calculate by calculating the cost of all the bling, okay? So bling does occur in renovations. Gorgeous bench tops, beautiful tapware, beautiful splashback tiles, all these sorts of things add up. These are your material costs. So it might be your hardwood flooring, it might be your amazing panelled doors. What you need to do is make sure that whilst you're pricing up your quotes and your estimates from your trades, that you're also pricing up the materials that are going to be going into that property. And remember, different levels of property will have a different level of finish, which will have a different cost. So make sure that you're not just doing a generic costing based on a previous project, unless it's an identical level of finish and an identical target market. Now, number 4 is practice makes perfect. The last way of working out your budget is usually reserved for those who've already renovated quite a few projects in the past. They have a few projects up their sleeves too. So once you roll through a few renovation projects successfully, you'll become better and better and better at working out your costs. You won't need to spend nearly as much time getting quotes, finding different trades, or endlessly browsing through tile shops to find how much tiles are going to cost you or how much appliances are going to cost you. You'll already have all this information from your previous projects written down that you can pull up from a handy database maybe. So you'll have not only that, you'll have your team in place, ready to go. So you won't need to be shopping around, so you can pretty much get an accurate estimate from them as well as from the past data. Realistically, guys, this is all about becoming your own renovation expert. To make things a heck of a lot easier for you when you're starting out, I have some awesome software in the Rapid Renovation formula that you can use that's based on all the stuff you need to do. It can show you your trade costs. It can even include your level of finish. Not only that, it is software that will be able to do a complete cost estimation for you. So guys, invest serious amount of time and effort in costing up your renovations, and you'll be one step closer to having a happy renovation.